quite a notable moment over on CNBC as Jim Cramer got a pick so wrong that he had to, with quite a bit of emotion in his voice, admit that he was wrong. I mean, have we ever seen this before? I don't know. This was specifically on his urging his audience to go ahead and buy into Meta, which then proceeded to have its shares drop 24% in a single day. Let's listen to how he explained that massive miss.
Okay, let me say this about this. I made a mistake here. I was wrong. I trusted this management team. That was ill-advised. Hubris here is extraordinary. And I apologize.
Okay.
Oh, man, that's brutal. Like,
yeah.
I trusted this management team.
It was ill-advised.
I feel... I know what it's like to eat crow on camera. You should do it. You should do it more often.
Yeah.
You'll get more used to it.
I mean, but he's definitely living up to his reputation here. I mean, there's a reverse Cramer ETF for a reason.
Right. And that's the issue with this entire game, with all of the hype around, the entire, in another life, like doing segments like a BP style takedown of financial media would also do quite well.
Yeah.
Just because, if anyway, they're even more crazy and insulated from a lot of criticism because it's just such a small audience. But for those of us who pay attention, clearly, like, this is not the first time that he's gotten something wrong in a certain direction. I'll never forget that one clip of like him and Jon. It's honestly uncomfortable.
Yes.
Where he's like forced to apologize by Jon Stewart on his own show. It's extraordinary. I encourage people to go and watch it. But actually, on the underlying question, you and I were talking about this today. I don't know what to think about Zuckerberg.
Like, over the long term.
Yeah, over the long term. I mean, I was looking at an analysis that Facebook's current valuation at their stock price is the same as when they had 1/10 of the same revenue as a company. Now, maybe the valuation was wrong when it had 1/10 as opposed to today with Meta under 100. But look, like, Zuck has been right about every major business decision of of literally since he ran the company. Don't sell to Yahoo, buy Instagram, buy WhatsApp, go all in on mobile, newsfeed over that. I mean, the only thing you could argue that you got wrong is content moderation, but like even that doesn't really have much of a business impact. So I remain mystified. To me, the whole metaverse thing, like, I don't see it, but I wouldn't have seen Instagram, at $1 billion. Like,
so I think, okay, it's helpful to say the reason why the stock fell off a cliff on this day, 24%, plunged 24% to the lowest price since 2016. Facebook Meta reported its second straight quarterly decline. Their Meta Reality Labs division, which is the thing you're talking about, the metaverse, houses their VR headsets, lost over $9 billion in the first 3 quarters. And so, I mean, he really is betting. There's a reason he renamed it Meta. He is betting on the metaverse. Now, what I would say is different from the other things that you mentioned, in particular, like the acquisition of Instagram, some of the WhatsApp, and some of the other acquisitions, is that was seeing something that was already successful and acquiring it. Versus with the metaverse, he's really trying to build and engineer something from scratch. Now, he's also acquiring some other pieces to fit into that world, but that's very different from what they've done before. So far, even like, young people who are more into the virtual reality or more into gaming or whatever, even they're like, this is trash, there's no one here, it's hard to navigate, it makes me sick and queasy to stay in here. And it's hard to really understand, his vision is that we're gonna be doing, instead of Zoom calls, that we'll all like jump into the metaverse to do our next business meeting. It's hard to see what that really adds over the technology that already exists. So I continue to be very skeptical that the metaverse is really the next big thing. And, I've got my son who's 9, super, like addicted to his freaking computer, Roblox, this other game called BTD6 that he's really into. And, he's not really interested in being in those worlds in a way other than what he already is in those worlds. So I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I could be showing my age here, all of those things. But I do think the fact that Zuck was good on those previous business acquisition decisions does not necessarily translate to building his own world from scratch.
I don't know. I mean, he bet the house several times. He doubled down. He's always won. That being said, it hasn't been that long. of a time. Again, I don't see it. I would totally bet against the metaverse, but I wouldn't have bet on a lot of TikTok. I would have told you it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I mean, people like it, so I don't know. I'm curious in terms of the long-term viability, but clearly he sees something. He burned $9 billion in money on R&D in the VR department, and they can't even get their own employees to use it. But you know, with this type of nascent tech, like, you're wrong until you're right. And sometimes if you do nail it, like, who knows?
The latest reporting on the metaverse that I read, which was quite recent, was that, you know, they had some of their reporters actually go and be in the metaverse. The experience was terrible. They couldn't even find anyone like to talk to. It was difficult to navigate. And then they also got some leaked documents about how even internally, as you said, their own staff doesn't use it. And so that's part of the problem, is like they don't like it and they don't use it, so they don't understand it. And number two, the theory is that once people get used to it, then they'll be there more and more and more. Well, what they've actually seen is people who were initially excited about it and were early adopters, they've actually fallen off, and the user base has actually atrophied and gone down over time. Now, like you said, maybe they have some technological development and maybe it gains a critical mass and maybe it picks up steam, but that is not the trajectory that it is on right now. So we'll see. We'll see if Jim Cramer is in the end vindicated and has the last laugh here.
Yeah, I think that's right.
All right, guys, more for y'all later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.